Back then, it was all smiles, years of work culminating in an agreement to restrict Iran's nuclear weapons program in exchange for economic relief. One can only imagine their expressions back in May, when after months of threats, President Donald Trump pulled the US out of the deal.
The Iran deal is defective at its core. If we do nothing, we know exactly what will happen.
But what the US will do next is less clear. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo has outlined 12 demands for Iran before a new nuclear deal can be discussed. But Tehran is unlikely to comply. Without the economic benefits of the deal's relief from sanctions, Iran's president could face pressure from within the country to restart nuclear operations. Pompeo and others have also signaled support for protests in Iran, but deny they're pushing for regime change.
Secretary Pompeo and others in this administration think that the Iranian government is on the verge of collapsing. I don't actually think that that's the right way of looking at it. I think the Iranian regime has got a lot more longevity than American officials might believe.
When President Trump pulled the US out of the nuclear deal, he also said he'd put sanctions on any company looking to do business with Iran. That causes problems in particular for Europe. Earlier this month, EU ministers met Iranian officials to look at ways to keep the Iran deal alive, but their options look bleak.
This all goes back to a question of how aggressive Europe is prepared to be. If the Europeans have finally had enough with what they see out of the Trump administration and are prepared to engage in what Macron and Merkel have called trade war and sanctions war with the United States, then perhaps they can generate enough economic benefit for the Iranians. But I think aside from that, it's pretty hard to see it surviving the end of the year, let alone 2.5 years from now.
A lot of people called the Iran deal a triumph for diplomacy, but Donald Trump saw it as weak and ineffective. Now he's set himself the challenge to come up with something better. Harry Horton, TRT World, Washington.